Here we're looking at the effect of heat on crystals. So we're going to heat our samples and observe any changes. We're going to see if we can observe any condensation, and then we're also going to add some water to our samples at the end and see if we can see any further changes there. So our first sample is magnesium sulfate. So we need to write down what our magnesium sulfate looks like in the first place. And then we are going to heat this. So observe carefully. So can we see all the way up the tube here? We have condensation. And heating a little further here, we can see it looks like it's boiling here. We actually get so much condensation out that the solid starts dissolving a bit in its own water of crystallization there. But certainly all the way up the tube here, we've got lots of condensation. So we can absorb the final, record the final appearance there. I'll pop that one down. So our next solid is sodium chloride. So just a close look at our sodium chloride there. Okay, so solid, very much the same as before there, and can't see any condensation in the tube there. This time we've got our copper sulfate, so record the appearance there. I think already we should be able to see some condensation on the upper part of the tube there. We can maybe see that wiggly line in between where we haven't got any water condensing and higher up where we have. And start having a careful look at our solid as well. How has that changed? So this one we can actually, I don't know if you can quite see, I can see lots of steam coming out the top, and we can really make out the condensation at the top of the tube there. Then if we think when we're looking at the solid around the outside is getting the most of the heat. So it would take a little longer to get the change all the way in the middle there. So for the end appearance, if we observe more the solid around the outside there. And then finally, we have our cobalt chloride crystals here. So you can record the appearance at the beginning there. Coming out slightly more in focus. There we go. And then we'll heat these. Again, we can hear the fizzing there. I think so much water of crystallization coming off. And then look at that change in colour as well. So around the top, lots of condensation. and the colour change at the bottom. So our final step for each of these was to add a few drops of distilled water to see if we notice any change. So a little bit of distilled water in there. And then into our sodium chloride. You might think what you expect to see with that one. Okay, I think we're just managing to dissolve some of it back up there. Now onto the white copper sulfate. So I'm going to squirt it down the side if I can. There we go. All right, so can we see how that's all gone blue? And then finally onto our cobalt chloride. It's hopefully cooled down enough for this not to fizz everywhere. There you go, put a bit more extra in there. There we go. So ensure you've got all your observations recorded fully. So the first thing we're going to do is record the mass of our empty crucible. Okay, so pop that down on your results table. And then we are going to add to that about 5 grams of copper sulfate. So I'm going to go to about 36.6 grams. Doesn't matter exactly what mass I end up with, just that I know how much it is. Let's do a little bit more. Okay, so record that mass in the right box on your results table as well. And then we are going to take that and we're going to heat this over our Bunsen burner. So we have our tripod here, and in the middle of that there is a pipe clay triangle, and that's going to be used to support our crucible. So I'll pop that into the middle there, and then we're going to put our Bunsen burner underneath. So I've turned that to a roaring flame, and then we're going to heat that strongly for 5 minutes. So you might like to think about what you expect to observe and what you expect to happen to the mass. And then after the 5 minutes, we'll go and reweigh our sample. Right, take a quick peek. We're about 2.5 minutes in now. And is that looking how you would expect it to look? So now we're at the 5 minute point. So I'm going to switch the gas off and remove the Bunsen burner. Okay, and then we're going to use, Jesus, having not picked it up, there we go. We're going to use another heat-proof mat to act as a tray so that we can transport our crucible and we can go and reweigh it. So carefully going to pinch the sides of that, pop that down there. I'm going to move you guys over here, ready to record the mass. And then with 2 hands, I can put our crucible down on the balance there. Okay, so please record the final mass on your results table. So have a final peek in there, and you can then use your values to work out what mass of hydrated copper sulfate we had in the first place and what mass we have remaining at the end.